Jagavalisu Adragyandu Devata Sadama Muni Rajasa Dunandu Sagamogata Dhamma Savana Galo Yamba Danda Dhamma Savana Galo Yamba Danda Dhamma Savana Galo Yamba Danda Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo
Recording in progress.
Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Dhisangayoniso Jivaramri Devami Yava Deva Sita Savrigataya Ona Savrigataya Tassa Magasa Vadaravasi Savasana Vrigataya Yava Deva Irigovina Vrijaranata Dhisangayoniso Ena Badam Dhisivami Deva Dawaya Namadaya Namandanaya Navibhusanaya Yava Deva Imazagaya Zadidya Yavanaya Viyesu Varadiya Gumajariya Nogaya Iti Buddhaninja Vedanavri Mami Navanja Vedanana Vadisami Yadaraja Mekuyati Navajada Javadu Yaraja Dhisangayoniso Sinazanam Dhisivami Yava Deva Sita Savrigataya Ona Savrigataya Tassa Magasa Varadava Sarisava Samasana Vrigataya Yava Deva Nubreya Vinodana Vizala Naramata Dhisangayoniso Ilana Vijaya Vijaya Vikaram Dhisivami Yava Deva Banana Viravadi Karana Viranana Vrigataya Avya Veja Brahmataya.
Anika jati sansara santa vaisa nivisam Kakaranga vaisanda doga jati puna punam Kakaraga deitasi puna gayana gayasi Savadeva zika vega gudam visinkatam Vidingaragata jaitandana nangayami jaga Nikayadi sansara santa vesa nivisam Kakaranga vesanda dokha jati puna punam Kakarga deitasi puna gayana gayasi Savadeva Duga Vega Gagutam Visingatam Visingaragata Jaitantana Nagayami Jagam Nikajati Sansara Santa Visa Nevisam Kakaranga Visanda Doga Jati Puna Punam Kakarga deitasi puna gayana gayasi Savadeva Duga Vega Gagutam Visinkatam Visingaragata Jaitasana Nagayami Jagam Vija Vija Singara Vija Vinyanam Vijana Vijana Maruva Vijaya Salayatana Salayana Vijaya Vasavasa Vijaya Virana Vina Vijaya Dana Dana Vijaya Uvadana Uvadana Vijaya Bhava Vijaya Jati Jari Jajaramarana Sogari Deva Dogadamana Subhaya Sambhavanti Eva Meta Sagevala Sadoga Kanda Samudaya Hoti Vijaya Deva Sisa Viraga Niroda Singara Niroda Singara Niroda Vijnana Niroda Vijnana Niroda Namaruva Niroda Namaruva Niroda Salayana Niroda Salana Niroda Basa Niroda Pada Niroda Vina Niroda Vina Niroda Dana Niroda Dana Niroda Uvadana Niroda Uvadana Niroda Vaniroda Vaniroda Jati Niroda Jati Niroda Jaramarana Sogari Deva Doga Domana Subhaya Saniro Janti Eva Medada Geola Saduga Kanda Saniro Dohoti Yara Veva Duvondi Dhammam Adavino Jaya Dobраmanasa Dasa Kingawa Vyandi Sabha Yatoba Chanadi Saitu Dhammam Yadawe Vadavandi Dhammam Adavino Jayato Brahmanasam Dada Kingawa Vyandi Sabam Yadokayam Vijayana Vedi Yadawe Vadavandi Dhammam Adavino Jayato Brahmanasam Viduvyantatati Marasinam Suryavavasya Mandalekam Heduvisya Aramana Visayam Divisya Nandra Visayam Samananda Visya Sajara Visayam Inyaminya Visya Nitya Visaya Upanidya Visya Purejata Visaya Vijayata Visya Asena Visaya Kama Visya Vivaga Visaya Ara Visya Indriya Visaya Gamana Visya Mega Visaya Samyota Visya Vivyota Visaya Adi Visya Nati Visaya Vida Visya Vida Visaya Di Jayanta Bodhiya Mule Sajjana Nandi Vidyanam Eva Meva Jaya Dujaya Sujaya Mingale Aparajita Balingazide Buri Bokale Vide Kedava Vodana Egavato Pamodati Sunagata Sumingala Vavata Suotitam Sugana Sumoto Jasitam Ramacharisu Viragina Kaya Kama Vacha Kama Patakinam Viragina Manokama Vridi Devrakine Viragina Nikatavana Lavanda Devrakine Deya Dalada Sugita Virona Buddha Sasane Aroga Sugita Hota Sasavinya Divi
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Buddhaṃ Saraṇam Gacchāmi Dhammaṃ Saraṇam Gacchāmi Sanghaṃ Saraṇam Gacchāmi Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ Saraṇam Gacchāmi Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ Saraṇam Gacchāmi Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ Saraṇam Gacchāmi Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ Saraṇam Gacchāmi Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ Saraṇam Gacchāmi Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ Saraṇam Gacchāmi Pāṇāṭibādā Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami Adinādana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami Kamesu Mejajara Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami Musawada Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami Suramiraya Majja Pamadadana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami Idame Silam Megapala Jnanasa Vajayo Hodu Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu.
Today we have to listen Ariya Vasa and Nivarana. Ariya Vasa, the abode of noble ones, and mental hindrances, Nivarana. Ariya Vasa. Ariya means individual who has attained one of 8 stages of enlightenment, no matter whether human or celestial, male or female, lay or monastic. and Avasa, or Ariya, Sotapati Megatam, Sagadagami Megatam, Saganagami Megatam, and Arata Palatan, or Arata Megatam. Sotapati individual, Sagadagami mega individual, and Nagami mega individual, and Arata mega individual, 4 megapercent. And after attaining mega, immediately fruition. So Sotapati fruition individual, Sagadagami fruition individual, Anagami fruition individual, and Arhata fruition individual. So 8 individuals, because 8 stages of enlightenment. And Awasa means residence or abode. So Ariyavasa means the abode of noble ones. All the Buddhas and noble ones, Ariyas in the past, dwelt in that Ariyavasa, that abode. Before Gautama Buddha, there appeared Kassapa Buddha. Before Kassapa Buddha, Konagamana Buddha. Before Konagamana Buddhas, Kakusanda Buddha. Before that, Visavu Buddha. Before that, Sikhi Buddha. Before that, Vipassi Buddhas. So all the Buddhas and noble ones in the past dwelt in that Riyavasa. And in the same way, our Gautama Buddha and his noble disciple have been dwelling in that Riyavasa. In the same way, the future Buddhas, Aremitya Buddha and his disciple, we dwell in that Ariyavasa, noble abode. So Ariyavasa refers to important qualities required to become a noble one. In other words, each and every noble one dwells in Ariyavasa, which is well guarded from the dangers of torturous cycle of suffering, torturous cycle of births and death, samsara. So the abode of noble ones, Ariyavasa, provides us refuge from all kinds of potential danger in samsara. To help us attain such great refuge, the Lord Buddha delivered this Ariyavasa discourse. So today, on behalf of the Buddha, we have to listen, we have to deliver this sutta, keeping it in mind. We all have to listen to this talk attentively. So there are some headings in this sutta. First, to abandon 5 factors and to be endowed with 6 factors, and 1 gut. Etc. Among these headings, the first one we need to implement is the development of mindfulness. A single gut, be mindful of whatever manifests. Be thus guarded by always with mindfulness. So for example, in the world, very important people like wealthy businessmen and high-rank officials have security guards at their houses, especially kings with absolute power keep many bodyguards around them at all times. As for national security, the much greater number of security guards are deployed all around the country. So there is a guard at the abode of noble ones. To explain what a single guard means, Lord Buddha posed a question before he gives answer as he gives answers. The question is, Katincha Bekwe Beku Eka Rakohoti. Bhikkhus, how is a bhikkhu endowed with a single god? And Buddha answered that question. Ita bhikkhu bhikkhu satarakena cetasa samanagadohoti. Bhikkhus, a bhikkhu is endowed with the mind guarded by mindfulness. The guard at the abode of noble ones is mindfulness. If you want to dwell that abode of noble ones, you need to have your mind guarded by mindfulness. In this sense, the Buddha said, a bhikkhu is endowed all types of mind guarded by mindfulness. It is only an arahant, a fully enlightened person, who can be endowed with perfect mindfulness. Arahant is mindful of whatever he does physically, verbally, or mentally. So the minds of Arahant is well guarded by mindfulness. Being mindful constantly, Arahant never does anything bad. Arahant never speaks anything wrong. Arahant never does harmful to others. Arahant never think of anything sinful. That is why Arahant is praised in this way. Tasa charato chewa detato cha sotasacha Chagrasacha Satatan Samitan Jnanadasana Bichupatitan. whether going, standing, sleeping, or awakening, he is endowed with knowledge and vision. So can you notice in this Pali words, Suttasa, this quotation includes when sleeping, he is endowed with knowledge and vision. But this is rather impossible, and it may refer to his mindfulness just before falling asleep and immediately after waking up. When Arahant totally falls asleep, it is impossible for mindfulness or insight to arise for Arahant. For sure, it does not mean that. In any case, we should know that Arahant always has his thoughts guarded by mindfulness, no matter whatever he is doing, speaking, or thinking of. The mindfulness does not suddenly lead to the full enlightenment, Rata Mega, like something that suddenly appears from the sky, like something that suddenly appears out of nowhere, but it gradually develops to its peak. Arahants attain perfect mindfulness. Thanks to the mindfulness he had developed as an anagami. In the same way, an anagami's mindfulness is almost perfect, but that is also attributed to the mindfulness he had developed as Sakatagami. And again, Sakatagami's mindfulness must also be credited to the mindfulness developed as a Sotapanna. Of course, Sotapanna's mindfulness is very remarkable in comparison with that of Putujana, common people. Thanks to such significant mindfulness, a Sotapanna's mental defilements are never strong enough to commit evil deeds that can lead him to woeful states. Yes, Sotapanna state has certain kinds of kilesa, mental defilements. Sotapanna state have passion, kamaraga, sensual desire. Sotapanna state has aversion, jabada, delusion, moha, and conceit, mana, and so on. But the mental defilements of Sotapannas are never strong enough to commit evil deeds of killing, stealing, etc. They decrease both in degree and frequency because Sotapanna has a mind guarded by powerful mindfulness. If you are a Vipassana meditator, if you practice diligently, you can realize it from your own experience. But if you are not, then you have to accept it by faith. At least you need to have faith in what the Buddha himself spoke in praise of Sotapanna. The Buddha said that a Sotapanna never does any akusala, demerits that can lead to woeful states. Yogis have practiced mindfulness, and so it is sure that what the Buddha said about Sotapanna is true. So if you want to realize this fact from your own experience, we have to encourage you to put effort in the development of mindfulness. If you develop mindfulness to a remarkable extent, you will realize how well it acts in nature as a vigilant guard. And to explain more, Sotapanna would crave for an object if desirable. He would be adverse against it if undesirable objects, because Sotapanna is not yet free from greed and hatred. But Sotapannas always becomes mindful of such unwholesome states and keeps them under control before they become violent. In this way, the defilements would lose their momentum and never go violent, unlike in the case of Pudujana, common people. For sure, Sotapanna would be lustful, he would be angry occasionally, but these mental defilements are never strong enough to make him capable of killing, stealing, telling a lie harmful to others' well-being. So the Buddha said that Sotapanna does not commit any evil deeds that can lead him to woeful states. Apaya gamaniya akusala. Evil deeds that can lead to woeful states, he never commit. So we need to get security, we need to get God, special God. We need to be guarded at all time so that no mental defilements, no mental enemy can invade our mind. For this purpose, all we need to do is just to be mindful of phenomena manifested at the six sense doors by noting all our sensorial reaction. So we have to note every seeing. If you really pay attention, if you have advanced level in Vipassana, you can see layer by layer of images. Hearing very clear, every hearing you need to be mindful. It is very immediately, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking accordingly. You need to be mindful of everything. So here touching can be experienced on every parts of the body or at every time you make a move. stretching, bending, etc. You can be aware of every touching. And thinking covers a wide range of thoughts that come non-stop, except the time you totally fall asleep. Of course, some of the thoughts are quite wholesome, kusala, but most of them are not wholesome, akusala. So it is very important to be mindful of every thought so that your mind can be well guarded against the mental defilements. Thieves or robbers cannot attack a house if well protected by security guards. In the same way, if the mind is well guarded by mindfulness, it cannot be severely attacked by mental defilements. The mindfulness known as the single guard can be developed gradually, just like step-by-step lessons for a schoolboy. The boy has to start his lesson with alphabets A, B, C. It is impossible for the schoolboy who read a passage right away on his first day of school. He has to work hard to remember what each and every alphabet looks like and how to draw them. And then he has to learn how alphabets get combined into words. Having thus learned step by step, schoolboy becomes capable of reading the whole sentence or paragraphs without thinking about alphabets or spellings of words. In the same way, yogi have to be mindful so that you make gradual progress in the practice. In the beginning, your mindfulness is not very strong. You note the rising and falling of the abdomen. When your concentration is weak, only just you can capture the concept, belly moving and stretching, bending of the limbs. You see only the limbs moving. But if you be more mindful, you can capture the nama-rupa true nature of the phenomena. Now let's see how yogi make gradual progress in the practice of walking meditation. When he or she becomes mindful more and more. In the beginning, you make note when walking, stepping, and left, right, left, right. And you pay attention to that walking without thinking. After a few hours or after a day or two of your walking meditation, you are able to be mindful of two occurrences: stepping and putting down the foot. And you try to be mindful of two stages in the step: stepping, putting down, stepping, putting down. Then you try to be mindful of 3 stages: lifting the foot, pushing the foot forward, and putting the foot down. Later you become more to be mindful of 4 stages in each steps: lifting the foot, moving it forward, putting it down, and pressing the foot on the ground. So you would become to be completely mindful and to make a mental note of these 4 stages of your foot's movement: lifting, moving forward, putting down, pressing the ground. So yogi wants to pay closer attention to the movements of lifting, moving forward, putting down, and pressing the ground. You can penetrate more and more, and you can be truly mindful and fully aware of these movements. All those yogi pay close attention. Yogi may not see all the movements and stages clearly in the beginning. The stages may not yet be well defined in your mind, and they may seem to continue only one continuous movement. But when you try to be mindful more and more, your concentration grows stronger, and you will observe more and more clearly these different stages in one step. The 4 stages at least will be easier to distinguish. You will know distantly the lifting movement, the lifting movement is not mixed with moving forward movement. And you will know that moving forward movement is not mixed with either the lifting movement and the putting down movement. And then you will understand all movements clearly and distinctly. So whatever you are mindful and aware of will be very clear in your minds, because you diligently mindful. And when you carry on the practice, you will observe much more. When you lift the foot, you will experience the lightness. When you push the foot forward, you will notice the movement from one place to another. And when you put the foot down, you will feel the heaviness of the foot, because the foot becomes heavier and heavier as it goes down. And when you put the foot on the ground, you will feel the touch of the heel of the foot on the ground. So along with observing, lifting, moving forward, putting down, and pressing the ground, you will also perceive the lightness of the rising foot, the motion of the foot, and the heaviness of the descending foot, and then touching of the foot, which is the hardness or softness of the foot on the ground. So you can discover these elements when you mindful more and more. When you continue to practice walking meditation, you will come to realize that with every movement, there is also a noting mind and the awareness of the movement. And there is lifting movements and also the mind that is aware of that lifting. Moreover, you will realize that both the movements and awareness arise and disappear in that moment. Later, you can discover the role of intention in affecting each movement. So in this way, you will make gradual progress in the practice when you mindful. And in due course of time, yogi will attain the first stage of enlightenment, and later, with more continuous mindfulness and stronger concentration, you will attain higher stages of enlightenment, Sakaragami Mega, Nagami Mega, and Arhata Mega. So the development of mindfulness will be fully accomplished, and mental defilements can no longer find their way into your mind. That is the ultimate goal of mindfulness. So in reality, although there are 10 kinds of Ariyavasa, full development of mindfulness is sufficient to ensure total commitment to them all. However, the Buddha expounded the other 9 features of Ariyavasa for his disciple to understand the discourse comprehensively. In fact, the mindfulness is the key to his overall teaching. So you remember, just before Buddha passed away, he summed up all his teaching in his last words in this way. Hanta dani bekwe amandiyamiwo. Vayadama Sinkara Apamadena Sambadita. Here by now, bhikkhus, I call upon you. The conditioned phenomena are impermanent in nature. Accomplish your training through mindfulness. Parents on their deathbed are likely to speak their last words to advise their children to follow for the rest of their life. At one time, there was a man on his deathbed, spoke the words of advice to his family members for the whole night until his death. The last words of a parents are normally impressed on children's memory for the whole life. Sometimes their memories are so vivid that they often see their parents in their mind's eyes, giving those words of advice. So the children are most likely to follow the last words of their parents. In the same way as a parent does, Lord Buddha spoke the last words out of great compassion just before he passed away. Like the advice of parents on their deathbed, the last advice of the Lord Buddha should remain fresh forever in our minds and put it into action. Hereby, bhikkhus, I call upon you. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent in nature. Vaya Dhamma Sankara. So Buddha said, bhikkhus, I'm now getting closer to the ultimate peacefulness, pre-nibbana, telling you my last words. His last words were, all conditioned phenomena are impermanent in nature. These words of the Buddha are very important for us, for the yogis, but we may take them for granted. Buddha emphasized that all the conditioned phenomena are impermanent, implying that there is nothing lasting as we think. Normally, we think our minds are always the same and have been thinking since our childhood days. In the same way, we think it is the same physical body that gradually grows bigger from a child to an adult. Our bodies are, we believe, the same as always, representing who we are. By contrast, Buddha declared that physical phenomena that people elusively identify as I or mine, he or his, she or her, are arising and vanishing at every moment. Yet most of us feel as if we were the same individual forever. So all psychophysical phenomena come into existence when conditions are met. And they all disappear in nature immediately after arising. We can find nothing lasting or reliable in our minds and bodies. What is reliable? Reliable is only nibbana, which is diametrically opposite to all conditioned phenomena. That is what we are practicing for. How to practice Lord Buddha? Buddha described it very briefly in this way. Appamadena sampadeta. Accomplish your training through the mindfulness. Appamada. These were the last words of the Buddha. We should not ignore them at all, like words spoken by our parents on his or her deathbed. It is very important for all of us to recollect these words and put them into practice. In the commentary, it is said that although this instruction is very brief, it can cover the entire Pali Canon of the Lord Buddha, which is classified into 3 baskets: Tipitaka. Keywords is apamada, heedfulness or mindfulness. Given the last words of the Buddha, it is very clear that although the Buddha here described 10 features of the Ariyavasa, the abode of noble ones, the mindfulness is the key factor. And by developing mindfulness, we will accomplish all 10 features of Ariyavasa. So when we establish the mindfulness described here as apamada, we need 4 supports. 4 supports are to use one thing and to endure another, to avoid still another, and to dispel stay another. So we are expected to use 4 necessity: robes, food, lodging, and medicine, and then patience to endure disagreeable things like unpleasant objects and unpleasant sensation, and don't go to the dangerous place. Avoid places where there are possible hazards and dangers. And the last one is to dispel unwholesome thoughts, sensual desire, evil, etc. All kinds of unwholesome thoughts need to remove. So as mentioned in the outline, yogi are to abandon 5 factors, but you don't need to make any effort deliberately to abandon them, because if you develop the mindfulness, the single God, you will spontaneously abandon them. When the mindfulness is continuous, these 5 factors called mental hindrances cannot invade your mind. Among these 5, how to overcome the first one, kamicchanda, sensual desire. Sensual desire means that take a quick action to remove it. If we fail to remove the sensual desire, we will be in the house of putujana, common people, in which we will be exposed to all kinds of dangers. You remember the story of a monk Tesa who died with lingering attachment to his new robe and subsequently was reborn as a louse in that very robe. That is because monk Tesa failed to dwell in the abode of noble ones, Ariyavasa, meaning he failed to be mindful of the attachment, kamicchanda. The story of monk Tesa is a good example of the dangers of attachment that drag him down to the animal worlds. However, fortunately, a week later, he passed on the celestial realms called Tawatensa. because he let go of attachment to his robe and became mindful of his good deeds done as a monk. So to be reborn of a man as a lost and then as a celestial being may be puzzle, may be baffling to common people, but quite understandable because it is all about the power of our mind. Depending on whether our mind is pure or impure, we would be reborn in a superior or inferior existence after death. One is reborn in a new existence immediately after death without any barrier of distance between the two lives. So sensual desire is indeed frightening, but we can suppress that desire through mindfulness. As the instruction says, sensual desire means that take a quick action to remove it. Through the constant mindfulness, yogi will develop progressive stages of vipassana insight that will culminate, that will conclude the attainment of Sotapaddi Mega and become a string enterer, Sotapanna. In a stream enterer, the sensual desire is never strong enough for any transgression that can lead to woeful states. But sensual desire, kamachana nivarana, can be totally eliminated only when you become an anagami, a non-returner. Yet, the finest form of desire, the subtle passions of material and immaterial existence, Ruparaga and Aruparaga, can be eradicated only when you are fully enlightened. So we'll continue next week. We have to stop our discourse for today. By practicing vipassana meditation, by developing mindfulness more and more, by noting, rising, falling, sitting, touching, seeing, hearing, smelling, etc., continuously and meticulously, may all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future. So sitting meditation for a few minutes.
Vero Homi Avyavajo Homi Anigo Homi
Sugiyadanam Pariharami Mama Mata Bidu Acariyaja Nyati Medaja Sabramajarinoja Avera Hondu Avyabaja Hondu Aniga Hondu Sugiyadanam Pariyarandu Ima Same Arame Veyoginam Avera Hondu Avyabaja Hondu Aniga Hondu Sugiyadanam Bariyarandu Imasame Arame Save Bhikkhu Samaneraja Upasaka Upasikaya Jam Avera Hondu Avyavaja Hondu Aniga Hondu Sugiyadanam Variyarandu Amagam Jatu Vijaya Dayagam Avera Hondu Avyavaja Hondu Aniga Hondu Sugiyadanam Variyarandu Amagam Araga Dewadam same vihare Ima same avase Ima same arame Araka devatam Avera hondu Avyapacha hondu Aniga hondu Sigiyadanam Pariyarandu Sabe Saddam Sabe Vanam Sabe Buddham Sabe Bogalam Sabe Adabhava Pariyabanam Sabaitiyam Sabe Purisam Sabe Ariyam Sabe Anariyam Sabe Devam Sabe Manosam Sabe Vinipadigam Avera Hondu Avyapacha Hondu Aniga Hondu Sigiyadanam Pariyarandu Dukkhamochamdu Yadalada Sambadidam Mavigichandu Kamasagam Urati Maya Disayam Pachimaya Disayam Udaraya Disayam Daginaya Disayam Urati Maya Nudisayam Pachimaya Nudisayam Udaraya Nudisayam Daginaya Nudisayam Iti Maya Disayam Uvari Maya Disayam Sabe Saddam Sabe Vanam Sabbe Buddham Sabbe Boggalam Sabbe Attabhava Pariyabanam Sabba Itiyam Sabbe Purisam Sabbe Ariyam Sabbe Anariyam Sabbe Devam Sabbe Manosam Sabbe Vinipatikam Aviram Du Avyabhajam Du Anigam Du Sukhiyatanam Variyaram Du Dukkhamojam Du Yata Latta Sampatidam Bhavikichandu Kammasakam Odam Yawa Bhavagajam Adoyawa Avijitam Da Jagavalesu Ye Satta Bhatavijaram Avyabhajani Veracham Nidoka Chanubhadavam Odayawa Bhavagajam Adoyawa Avijitam Samanda Chakavalesu Ye Satta Udake Chara Avyabhajani Veraja Nidoka Janubhadava Odayawa Bhavagajam Adoyawa Avijitam Samanda Chakavalesu Ye Satta Akase Jaram Avyabhajani Veracham Nidoka Janubhadava Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Buddham Ujemi Imaya Dhamma nu Dhamma Vadivatiya Dhamma Mujemi Maya Dhamma nu Dhamma Vadivatiya Sangha Mujemi Maya Dhamma nu Dhamma Vadivatiya Mata Vidara Pujemi Imaya Dhamma nu Dhamma Vadivatiya Acariye Pujemi Adai Maya Vadivadaya Jaramarana Jesami Dhamme Ponyam Asavakaya Vaham Odu Idame Silam Megavala Nyanasa Vajayadu Imano Punya Vagam Satanam Dema Sabe Sada Sugita Om Du Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu